Thank you very much. And for the remainder of the meeting, we will hear from Sustain Charlotte on proposed alternative designs to I-77 expansion project. I will now turn it over to Shannon Benz to lead the discussion.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Shannon and friends.
Shannon.
We'll be sharing 77 design ideas. First of all, thank you, Commissioner Meyer, for the invitation to share these exciting designs with you and the rest of the committee and non-committee members for being here to see and hear and ask questions. I think today is a historic day in our community, and not just because my daughter Edie turns 10 today.
Right.
But also because, because I feel that we are embarking on a long overdue journey today. And that's a journey to repair and reconnect what those before us have broken and disconnected. So I'm excited about that opportunity. I hope by the end of this presentation, you share our excitement. So over the past several months, something remarkable has happened in Charlotte. I think we can go back to the beginning. I'll give you a nod when we're ready to move forward. A community-wide conversation about about healing, reconnection, and the kind of city we want to become was a result of a conversation that began as just a conversation and concerns about another highway widening project. And when we at Sustain Charlotte launched the Reimagining 77 challenge, we did not know, honestly, what to expect. We didn't know if anybody would participate because we weren't paying anyone, right? Ask people to volunteer their time and their talents. But the response was extraordinary. We received ideas from professional urban designers, architects, planners, engineers, students, and neighborhood advocates. And we even received a submission from someone who lives in Wisconsin who's never even been to Charlotte, if you can believe that. And even children as young as 5 years old submitted their ideas. So despite the difference in age and background, technical expertise, there was a striking common theme running through nearly every submission. And that is, people are hungry for a future that reconnects communities rather than further divides them. Again and again, people imagine parks instead of pavement, public spaces instead of barriers, greenways, safe walking and biking connections, gathering spaces, places where children and families can thrive. And not because they oppose reducing congestion, but because they want transportation investments that improve quality of life and strengthen neighborhoods instead of weakening them. What became clear through this process is that Charlotte residents are not lacking imagination or vision. In fact, the opposite is true. Once people are invited to imagine something beyond simply widening highways, the possibilities become incredibly exciting, inspiring, and endless. Some of the concepts we shared publicly generated enormous engagement online because they sparked something we rarely see in transportation conversations: joy, hope, pride, excitement about what our city could become. So today we want to briefly share several of these visions with you before taking a deeper look at 3 concepts developed by local design professionals here in Charlotte who generously volunteered their time and expertise to help our community imagine a different future for this corridor. Sound good? All right, go ahead, next slide, please. So I'm going to go through these very quickly because of time, and I want to have time for the more in-depth ones, but this is the first one that popped up online. This was by longtime West Charlotte leader, Jatanya Adams. Obviously, you know, AI was used, but she's not a professional. She just typed in what she wanted to see, and it's pretty amazing. I mean, there's a lot of things here. We've got new mixed-use development along 77. 77 is under the green space here. We've got Irwin Creek has been daylighted, as we say, opened up, which is currently mostly buried under 77. Lots of exciting things here. Next slide. This is the 5-year-old preschool class learning about urban planning. and sharing what they'd like to see in place of 77. So they were drawing their favorite things: parks, community gardens, bike lanes, and other things, even blueberry fields. They had lots of great ideas. Future urban planners, hopefully, in there. Go ahead. Another shot of their amazing artwork. I see a slide, even an office building. There's the blueberry field. You probably can't see all of that. A traffic light, of course. Go ahead. This is a design that was designed by a student at Pitt named Alex Smith, who's actually with us today. He's one of our interns this summer, and he's studying urban planning at Pitt. So we don't have time to go into all of it, but I will just read a little bit of what he said. His map visualizes two separate freeway caps over 77 in Uptown. The area adjacent to the cap, currently vacant land and light industrials, redeveloped into a mixed-use district. The second cap starts at a new Lydecker Avenue bridge over 77, providing a new pedestrian-focused connection between Wesley Heights and Uptown. And there's more, but just I want to give you a flavor of each of these today. We don't have time to get into all of the details. Go ahead. I feel like I need a answer. Visionary here, his name is Phil Beasley. He called his design Reconnect the Urban Fabric. He envisions capping and burying 77 adjacent to Uptown, removing a segment of 277 to connect Uptown with South End, simplify the network, reconnect the grid, add infill and park space. Go ahead. Melissa Harmon, who I believe is a student at UNC Charlotte. We had several UNC Charlotte students submit. Also proposed two freeway caps, and you should know none of them were talking to each other, right? But we saw a lot of similarities. Almost everyone suggested a cap. So her vision here was the two caps over the corridor, an effort to increase walkability, connect residents to nature, uphold equitable solutions for the environment and neighborhoods, and so on and so forth. And both of hers would reconnect Wilmore to Revolution Park and Westover Hills on the west side of 77. And we'll share all these slides, so if you want to dig in more, you can. Go ahead. And again, most of these are non-professionals. In fact, everything we've seen so far is by a non-professional, right? Here's another one. This was another student, I think, at UNC Charlotte, Leilani Jones. Her project was meant to bring communities together and connect people through play. There's been a decline in connection, and I believe this plan will influence people to spend time outside in a safer atmosphere. Areas with public art, walls for everyone to create, soccer fields, open fields for picnics, just enjoying nature, etc. Go ahead. Go ahead. This is a sketch. There's a series of sketches. This is from a non-professional named Oliver Buccino. This is the guy who lives in Wisconsin, has never been to North Carolina. He designed what he called Queen City Plaza. He actually, probably because he doesn't live here, he actually looked at reconnecting South End to Uptown by capping 277. He said, more than anything, this plan seeks to create what is desperately needed in the area, a new destination in the form of a pedestrian plaza with a variety of colorful architecture, all oriented towards the new space. This reconnects downtown and South End, which is currently afflicted by the dead zone of the highway, unusable green space, and off-ramps. Removing the existing freeway or capping it to form a park is not good enough. There has to be an actual plan to build a district with vitality. Diverse uses, mostly in new housing, but also shops and hotels provide round-the-clock activity in the district. And he's one of the few that just actually hand drew his sketches. Go ahead, he's got another one here. Pretty cool examples of architecture. Just imagine if that is where 277 is today, between Uptown and you can see Uptown in the background. Go ahead. Go ahead. Another view. So pretty cool. Got a cat's bus in there. Right. Next. You can skip this one. We're going to come back to this one. You can skip a few slides, go ahead. I meant to delete these. This version didn't get deleted, keep going. We're gonna come back to these, I promise. Keep going. Keep going, keep going. Keep going. I think this is the last one. Okay, yeah, here, so we had the UNC Charlotte Student Engineers for Sustainability. I didn't even know that group existed until this challenge. I don't know if you do or did. So they took an engineering approach, but they came up with lots of different ideas. They had, they of course had the caps that everyone else seemed to want to do as well. But they had noise control strategies using green noise barriers, rubberized asphalt, earthen berms. Go ahead. They also envisioned what they called sky greenways, reconnecting neighborhoods divided by I-77, reducing noise and visual pollution, adding green space, vertical gardens on some of the existing sound walls, transparent solar noise barriers. So lots of interesting creative ideas from our local engineering students focused on sustainability at UNC Charlotte. Go ahead. This one you're not gonna be able to read, so I'll read some of it to you, but this visionary's name was Amalia Deloney, and she took a very different take. She really featured the fact that what runs through this corridor is Irwin Creek. Most people don't think of that as the Irwin Creek corridor. We think of it as the 77 corridor. But near Uptown, we have Irwin Creek, one of our longest creeks in Mecklenburg County. I think actually the longest creek. It goes all the way into South Carolina. And so her title was Asking the Water First, a speculative charrette with Irwin Creek. Her vision is that the corridor through Seversville becomes a climate commons, not a park above a buried problem, a living system. Irwin Creek, currently channelized and largely buried through this stretch, is daylighted and restored to the surface. The floodplain becomes a commons where the neighborhood gathers. The Irwin Creek and Stewart Creek greenways are extended through McCrory Heights without interruption, restoring the walkability severed when the highway was built in the 1960s. This land has held people for at least 6,000 years. The Catawba Nation lived along this river corridor long before Charlotte was incorporated in 1768. When we name the harm of the 1960s, the more than 240 families displaced, many without compensation, we are naming one chapter in a longer story of displacement that began much earlier. Any honest reimagining acknowledges the full length of that story. So we're talking about restoring land that has been lived on and lived off of, in the case of the stream, for many generations. I'll read the last part here because it's pretty good. The creek holds all of it. It's
Hey, Shannon, can you hold, you need.
Sorry about that. The watershed has existed for 3.8 billion years here. And the highway has only been here for 60. A corridor designed with the water rather than over it. It's climate resilient, neighborhood connecting, and grounded in the oldest knowledge this place holds. Okay, one of the more thoughtful approaches. Go ahead. In the name of time, I'm going to skip over this one. It's pretty similar to what we saw before with Jatania's, but I will say what they had there was commuter rail. Maybe go back for just a second. So in here, you see 77 is under the cap, but also down the center, they have commuter rail, and they envisioned 77 becoming a commuter rail corridor, not just a corridor for moving people in cars and trucks. Okay, next one. So did this individual, they also envisioned light rail in the 77 corridor. Keep it moving here. I'll skip this one in the name of time. I did want you to see all of the submissions, even if I don't talk about them in detail. Here's one where the 77 corridor is used to create a commuter rail line, serves as the priority commuter transportation from South Carolina and the surrounding suburbs into Charlotte. Okay. Matthew Halverson had a number of ideas here for the corridor. I won't get into all of them. He touched on preserving the beauty of Elmwood Cemetery. Of course, the historic early Black Charlottean cemetery that was severed and largely destroyed by 77. Go ahead. So this visionary, Maya Wolyansky, was 10, and she was very serious about her design. She was quite an expert in urban planning despite only being 10 years old. She said the goal of her design was to more effectively reroute traffic from the I-77 to 277 interchange area while creating more green space and adding more community areas, helping create better functioning communities. She was a big hit at the exhibition. All the media wanted to talk to her. She was the youngest one. Okay. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit so that the rest of the presenters have time. Just give you a quick glance at these. Go ahead. Very quickly, this team came up with lots of new ideas. They talked about having autonomous shuttles, like they have, like you see there in the image. That's a UNC Charlotte autonomous campus shuttle. They talked about having those in the 77 corridor. Go ahead. A dedicated micromobility lane. So a lane on 77 separated, of course, with hopefully a very sturdy cement barrier for micromobility. That's bikes and scooters. Go ahead. They talked about dynamic congestion pricing. So actually charging people who drive into the city a higher fee at certain times of day to reduce congestion. Of course, this is being used in some other cities, including New York. And they've even calculated how much money this would generate for the city. And of course, we could have some of that come to the county too, if that route was taken. So this could be a money generator for the city while also reducing congestion. Go ahead. We'll keep going. This is a 3-part design by Parker Garrison. Again, I was just amazed. I think Parker Garrison is he's like a computer scientist, but does urban planning on the side. Go ahead. This might be our last one for now. In fact, let's just go ahead and jump to the next slide deck. I'm gonna present next the vision of a local designer here in Charlotte named Eric Orozco. Eric and his wife Megan Orozco teamed up on this. He couldn't be here today, so he put together these slides and he asked me to present them for him. The name of his design is Interchange, and it's called Presentation 2, I think. You got it? Okay. Inter-exchange, and he's looking at the intersection of, I believe it's 77 and the Belk. So that's a big picture view of it. You can see, actually you can't really see from this angle, but 77 is under that green space. You can see it at the top of the image there going under. So this is a series of caps between Trade Street and 5th Street. And of course you can see the creek. He's actually in his design relocated Irwin Creek, which would happen, which was the plan with the 77 toll lanes. And he has a lot of really interesting ideas about why that's important from a floodplain and ecosystem restoration standpoint. Next slide, please. So he talked about the design challenge. Of course, designers always talk about the challenge they're trying to address. The challenge here is that I-77 divides the historic West End and other West Charlotte neighborhoods, of course, from uptown like a wall, limiting connectivity, safety, and economic opportunity. This project reimagines this barrier as an opportunity to reconnect neighborhoods and restore community fabric. So that's the challenge. Go ahead. And there's the image again, the aerial. Lots of things happening in here. Lots of it is small print. So I don't know if you have, I guess you have a printout in front of you that might help. But this one is really centered around the historic West End, the people of historic West End, the institutions of historic West End. He has it introduces the Golden Bulls Greenway connecting Frazier Park to Johnson C. Smith University. For those of you who don't know, the Golden Bulls is the mascot of JCSU. And then, of course, the main feature is lowering and capping 77 to create a series of emerald cap parks and development sites. So what you see on the left of Irwin Creek would be some new development, mixed use development. Go ahead. I guess there's some people doing yoga down in the park there. Community benefits. So here's an actual diagram of the various land uses. Reconnecting neighborhoods and improves mobility, creates new parks, housing, and cultural destinations, supports mixed income housing and local business growth, and establishes a food innovation and cultural district. So those are some of the community benefits he envisioned. And again, I won't read them all off, but he's named different buildings like the J. Charles Jones Beloved Community Gardens, a research hub of JCSU Sustainability Village. So he's really, he's someone who deeply understands the history of West End and the neighborhoods that are adjacent to 77, and his visions to bring those stories and those people alive and honor them through the development that would be made possible if we capped 77 here. Go ahead. From the land use strategy, in order to build this, he envisions, as many other cities have done, who have done these kinds of projects, local partnerships between Historic West End partners, JCSU, Johnson & Wales, Enlivian, the county, and the city to deliver this infrastructure and development. Of course, we need partnership from our friends at NCDOT to actually lower the road, and that's typically the role state DOTs play in cities that have done this in their uptowns. And then center the uses and programs inspired directly by the lives of local luminaries, as I mentioned a moment ago, a National African American Foodways Museum, an urban farmers market pavilion, an urban agricultural teaching garden. Lots of opportunities. Go ahead. From the economic strategy for this design would be leveraging this reclaimed land for growth systems, permanently affordable housing through housing co-ops and land trusts. Of course, parks, fitness and recreation, ecosystem services through the restoration of Irwin Creek, education and business incubation, food system innovation, and community serving uses. And I think the big takeaway here is we have an enormous amount of land on the edge of Uptown that is not being used currently. And I'm not talking about the land that 77 sits on. I'm talking about the amount of land that is completely wasted because of entrance and exit ramps. More than we need in that area. And they encircle, you know what the ramps look like. They're huge circles, and all the land in the middle is completely unused. It's grass. So when you remove freeway ramps in urban areas, you unlock some of the most valuable land in the entire city. I won't go into it today. I'll share this with you later, but Mecklenburg County and the city of Charlotte lose millions of dollars in property tax revenue every single year simply because 77 was built. I think it's about 150 million a year we would have in property tax revenue if 77 was never built and this had been developed like all the other land in and around Uptown. Go ahead. The green system strategy is integrating stormwater, ecology, mobility into one system. So this is bigger than just mobility, but restoring the natural ecosystem and having them all work together. Go ahead. And that's it. Now, I'm excited to turn it over to the team at Gresham Smith, one of our best local design, architecture, and engineering firms. And I'm honored to pass the mic to Vama Joshi, who is an architect and was the lead designer for Gresham Smith's submission, and also a very generous and dedicated Sustain Charlotte board member. So, Vama.
Thank you. And I just want to make sure you know that it's 2:07
Yes.
and we have a hard stop at 2:30.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
keep-
Is it on? This is on, right? Okay, perfect. Thank you everyone for your time in reviewing our vision for I-77 expansion. Okay, perfect. I can start and then you can move to the next one. I think first slide kind of shows where we are today at the interchange. Yes, perfect. So we know Charlotte is growing fast, right? And with growth comes opportunities, but also challenges. The interchange that you see there at the Wilkinson Boulevard and John Wilk Freeway is the perfect example of how transportation infrastructure shapes the cities we live in. While it is designed to efficiently move traffic, it also determines if it divides or connects the neighborhoods. Today, we are exploring how we might rethink this interchange to better serve all Charlotte residents, not just the drivers passing by. Even today, we are experiencing the impacts of racial and economic divides created by construction of I-77 in 1960s. West Charlotte neighborhoods experience significant disinvestment, poor health outcomes, less access to open green spaces, amenities, and tree canopies. And then if you flip to the next page, it shows the NCDOT's current proposal. If it's executed like it's proposed currently, it is going to further divide and deepen the division. And this one is essential. I cannot, I cannot talk about this without the transformation video. Okay. So if you go to slide 5, and then once you're there, yeah. So this is our proposal. Our vision basically reimagines I-77 corridor as multifunctional civic and ecological asset, preserving existing transportation infrastructure while introducing alternatives to NCDOT's proposed expansion. We are utilizing the transportation infrastructure as a connector rather than a divider, relinking neighborhoods, improving environmental performance, and creating public spaces. You may have to just pause there. If you can go back to slide 5, that would be great. Slide 6, please. Yes. So here we are highlighting some of the upcoming projects around that interchange. Considering all those high density mixed use projects, the need for public open space at this intersection we think is essential. Next slide, please. So our vision focuses on repairing and reconnecting Charlotte. As shown here, I-77 interchange is about 35 acres of land. That is approximately 2.5 Bank of America stadiums. It is a significant amount of land at the prime location, which currently is only functioning as transportation infrastructure. It could very well be a community asset, right? At the same time, Charlotte's park score is 37.5 out of 100, and 39% residents live within 10 minutes walk from a park. Spaces like this interchange present perfect opportunities to improve access to green spaces for the nearby neighborhoods. There's numerous research that shows how access to urban green spaces improve physical and mental health. There's also a strong economic argument that shows investing in public spaces boosts local economies. Next page, please. So we took inspiration from projects like Clyde Warren Park in Dallas, Big Dig in Boston, Freeway Park in Seattle, and felt comfortable proposing a vision that includes combination of taking portion of I-77 underground and capping portion of it. We also took inspiration from local public art, natural landmarks, and existing infrastructure to make this vision relevant to Charlotte. So here are some key design features we would like to highlight. We are prioritizing equity, health, and well-being by ensuring access to public spaces, parks, clean air, transportation choices, for all surrounding neighborhoods. We are achieving environmental resiliency through integrating stormwater and flood mitigation into underground transportation infrastructure. We are improving transportation and connectivity by upgrading existing streets to multimodal corridors, combination of adding caps and placing portion of I-77 underground to reconnect neighborhoods, and introduction of alternate transportation hubs to reduce dependency on cars. We are prioritizing culture and public realm by creating spaces that support placemaking, provide opportunities for communities for expression and gatherings. And now Fernando here will walk us through how we are implementing these key features at the interchange.
Thank you, Balma. To everybody, Fernando Claudio, I'm an innovation technologist here at Gresham Smith. Next slide, please. I wanted to kind of take you all through our vision and our proposal and how some of these key features are being highlighted, starting off with health and well-being, where we're getting some vegetative buffers that help us mitigate noise and air pollution while increasing biodiversity and helping us regulate temperature as well as stormwater management. Next slide, please. I'll kind of go quickly with some of these, as well as not just environmental, but social resiliency, as Vama had mentioned, by, we're connecting existing parks and greenways through a series of bike pedestrian trails, and as well as adding underground transportation infrastructure for flood mitigation. Next slide, please. And one of the many things we have talked about was that transportation and connectivity being about how we're upgrading existing streets to add additional multimodal systems for bike and pedestrian walkways, an elevated pathway that would connect all the way to uptown. By the community was nicknamed the Charlotte Skyline, and a light rail connection with the upcoming of the proposal of the Silver Line, as well as share different mobility corrals for like adding e-bikes, scooters, where people also have different ways of getting to these different spaces. Next slide, please. And not just providing a green space for the sake of providing a green space, but the creation of cultural corridors where we're providing opportunities for placemaking, we're creating landmarks and platforms for the community expression and gatherings as well. Next slide, please. As well as thinking about different amenities where people can gather and have different sets of outdoor activities, such as different sports like tennis, basketball, volleyball, as well as thinking about, like, for example, children working with like different playgrounds, splash pad areas. So we're thinking about this as a way for a place for all ages to come together as a city. And next slide, please. And something that I want to kind of give you all before we move to the next presentation is something I want to encourage is that this shared vision that we're seeing today is we're thinking about it as a way where Charlotte can start to balance its mobility, equity, and quality of life. We're encouraging a collaboration between like public agencies, private investors, community groups, because a project of this scale requires collaboration. And all these groups need to come together in a place where they're providing for Charlotte that's focused on people as much as we prioritize cars. And to wrap, I want to make sure that, Charlotte at this moment with these types of projects, we have the opportunity not only to manage the growth of the city, but at the same time to shape a more connected, inclusive, and vibrant cities for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
How many more do we have?
Well,
Just one more. Okay. No, you're fine. You're fine. I know they want to ask questions and I just want to have time.
Awesome. Do you have the slide available? Okay. Yes, that's it. So while it gets pulled up, I'll introduce myself. So first, thank you, commissioners, for inviting us to come speak today. My name's Matt Weschler. I'm a civil engineer. I work in Uptown. I live in the West End. I'm also serve on the Charlotte's Bike Advisory Committee and am the infrastructure chair of my local neighborhood group. But today, I don't represent any of those organizations. I came to just represent myself in my experience of using the I-77 corridor as a bike commuter to get from the West End into Uptown for work every day when the weather's nice. Usually I've got my 18-month-old son sitting on the back seat. I'm very fortunate that I can drop him off at daycare and then go and start my work day. And then when the day's done, I pick him up and I can bike home. It's an incredible lifestyle, and I'm very fortunate to have the opportunity to do that. On a daily basis, if I'm just biking by myself, I'll take the 5th Street Bridge to get from my house into Uptown. It's the most direct, intuitive way to get from those in between those two places. But when I'm biking with my son, I just can't do that. The 5th Street Bridge feels too unsafe. It's uncomfortable. It gets quite hot in the summertime. It gets cold in the wintertime. So instead, I take the Irwin Creek Greenway crossing to get into Uptown, which about doubles my commute time. So for me, ped bike infrastructure and the experience of getting from point A to point B is more than just nice to have. It's part of the critical infrastructure that influences my daily quality of life and getting to work. So when the RFE came out from Sustain Charlotte, I was excited about it because I've been thinking about that commute for a long time, for many years now. And the request was to come forth with bold ideas. So a couple of my colleagues spent a few hours after work and during lunch over a couple of beers coming up with some ideas of what would be the ideal things that we could do with I-77 to improve that daily experience. So I'm going to share some of those ideas with you today. And again, these really are ideas. They're not plans. I do not have a cost estimate. I do not have a traffic model. They were generated over a few hours and are intended to spark conversation. So next slide. So I'll jump right into it. The focus of our interest was I-77 through Center City. So you can see where 5th Street is, West Moorhead Street, the I-277, I-77 interchange. Irwin Creek today is somewhat hidden beneath the on and off ramps between I-277 and Freedom Drive and Wilkinson Boulevard. Next slide. So what we look at first is what are the big moves here? So the first big move is what if we took the existing elevated portion of I-77 between 5th Street and West Moorhead Street. Today it is elevated over existing local streets. What if we lowered that so that it goes underneath the streets instead? And then we look at the potential for rethinking the space needed for the I-77, 277 movements, and if there's a way that we can compact that into the smallest space feasible. Next slide. So the idea here, again, lower I-77 so it crosses beneath instead of above local streets, and compact the I-77, I-277 movements. Next slide. Within the space that's left over, we would look at trying to do a restoration of Irwin Creek, daylight that, give it, make it become both an ecological improvement and a social improvement to the area. Next slide. And within the space that's the Belk interchange today, the question here is there a better use for that land? Or what is the most valuable use of that land? And could it also function potentially not as the on and off ramps to I-77, but as a densified network of local streets that restitches the urban fabric? Next slide. So the idea here would be to restore the urban grid by converting Wilkinson Boulevard and Freedom Drive from freeway ramps to local boulevards, and then still preserve access to I-77 through Frontage Road or something else that I haven't figured out yet. And then build local streets as multimodal bridges over I-77, and then connect those local streets with urban boulevard over I-77. So instead of being underneath I-77, it would be above, those local streets would be above I-77. Next slide. And next slide. So we also are trying to think about transit integration. So we know, the Silver Line's coming in the future. So the question, how do we maximize the transit-oriented community and transit-oriented development that's possible around our future Silver Line stations? Next slide. So we look at, some of the areas, we were able to create this urban grid. How can we use that to become new development space? So that's space that's for housing, it's space for office, it's space for retail, it's space for civic uses, it's space for parks. it can be used for many, many different purposes. Next slide. Yeah, so in yellow, some of these are developments that have already are in the planning process. Next slide. And some are the potential opportunities that could arise if we rethought the use of land in Center City. Next slide. Next slide. As a point of reference, there's a lot of variables that go into this, but a typical urban block can generate over $1 million in local property tax revenue annually. Next slide. And according to Center City Partners data, Center City itself produces $1 billion in annual public revenue each year. So how are we? So land close to Center Cities is something that is very important for all of our other government functions. Next slide. And then the fun part that I think so many people focused on as part of the RFE process is what do you do in between the bridges? Next slide. So, this can happen either all at once or incrementally over many years. But when you restitch these crossings of I-77 as local streets, in the space between, you can start to think about what would it mean to add park caps. So that might be an expansion of Fraser Park with a urban frontage, a new street that fronts it on one side. For the three bridges that cross I-77 today at the Belk interchange, what would it mean for those to become local streets and cap those with a central park? And what this could look like over time. Next slide. And there's probably hundreds of different iterations of what a future Charlotte might look like, but we're talking about a 50-year time frame, so it's important to have that long-term future prospect in mind. So this is one concept that introduces a blend of new development and park space. Next slide. So from an implementation standpoint, next you can kind of just click through these as we go through. So this is something that's would definitely require multiple phases. It unfold probably over years or possibly decades, not all at once. And there has to be a logical progress. There's a vision, there's planning, there's a design, there's funding, and then finally there's construction over different iterations. And then from an implementation partner's perspective, this isn't something that all comes from one funding source. It's many, many different public and private sector entities that would have to be organized and kind of picking up where the previous implementation partner left off. So certainly NCDOT would have to be a critical partner in this. Mecklenburg County, certainly. Federal government, when we talk about reconnecting community grants and things like that, certainly. City of Charlotte, private developers, CATS, MPTA, philanthropic groups, and individuals. These will all be critical players in implementation. And I'll run through I know we're running out of time, so I'm going to try to get through this real quick. Next slide. And we'll click through these too. So, the question I think where we're at right now is how can highway projects evolve into city repairing projects? And the best example that I thought of as we think about the dialogue that's happened around I-77 is take a look at what's happening with I-35 in Austin, Texas right now over the last 7 years. I-35 has a lot of similarities to I-77. It was built in the 60s and 70s, separated historic Black East Austin from Central Austin, about 180,000 cars a day. It's one of the most congested corridors in Texas. You can click through so you can see the similarities to I-77. So what's happened in Austin over the last 7 years? You can click through these ones pretty quickly too. So this is the Capital Exchange Project, or the CapEx. In 2010, the corridor was identified as severely congested. 2013 to 2018, the Texas DOT and Capital Area MPO planned for a traditional widening, managed lanes. In 2019, the Texas DOT releases concept maps showing significant impacts. Those led to a community response. By 2020, the Downtown Austin Alliance commissions a study of cap and stitch concepts. By 2021, our Future 35 coalition forms to build public support for caps. In 2021, City of Austin leverages federal grant support to lead engineering study. In 2023 to 2025, the Texas DOT advances design to lower I-35 beneath local streets and issues contract bids while the city coordinates cap strategy. And what's happening in Austin today is construction is underway to lower I-35 and the caps are being planned with future phases. They're debating how to fund it still. It's messy, it's complex, but it's an interesting precedent. So when I think about where Charlotte is today, compared to Austin's timeline, it doesn't have to take 7 years to get there. We have a condensed time frame here, but I think we're kind of where Austin was between 2019 and 2020. So with that, I can conclude. And the one message that I wanted to reinforce today with the final slide is just how important it is for our governments, multiple department agencies, and the private sector and the public sector to all be collaborating together so that we can collaborate to build a better future for Charlotte. And I hope that's a message that resonates with everybody in this room today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and your designs and your talent. Thank you to everyone. We have very limited time, and if somebody has a burning question, Commissioner Altman.
Thank you. I want to truly, sincerely thank the residents who volunteered their time and their talent to dream about the community that we want and to bring ideas forward. They are really heroes for leaning in and trying to get us to a great place. And I'm so very grateful to them and they inspire me. I did ask NCDOT to weigh in on this on April 28th. I would like to know, if there is a kernel here or a seed here, something that's new. I think it would be helpful for us to get that subject matter expertise to do so, although we don't have time today. But I do hope that there's something that you could take inspiration from here. I received an email during this meeting from a resident who says, my husband and I were just on a walk at Fraser Park. He noticed surveyors there and asked what they're doing. They were from Arcadis firm and told him they were moving forward as instructed to do by NCDOT. I find this very disturbing, close quote. So this is why there is a move to stop it, because there's a real fear that it's just going to barrel forward. It's just going to happen. And that kind of thing is the problem, because we don't have confidence that we can have a real conversation about alternatives that is informed by subject matter experts who can really give us alternatives, because there's a lot of beautiful things here, but and again, I will need, and what I really want is for the city of Charlotte. I think Charlotte needs to get, an outside firm that is independent, that can truly bring forward alternatives that will address our congestion problems and deal with the hundreds of thousands, millions of people traveling through that could be an alternative to what we've seen from NCDOT. We really, really need that because then we can have the most informed conversation that takes into account all of these very legitimate concerns. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Altman. And Commissioner Altman is our representative on CARPO. And I think that is a fantastic place to end with her quotes, because I think we all agree with that. We need an independent commission to do this. It's just, that's it. I want to thank everyone for being here. We are out of time. I wish we had more time to ask questions. If you have questions, I'm happy to send these to Shannon and he can get those answers for us if that works out.
Thank you.
All right. Do I need to take a vote to end the meeting? I call this meeting adjourned. Thank you everyone for being here, especially our designers. Thank you.